Hey everybody, as most of you know, for many of my astro photos this year, I've been using the Move Shoot Move Rotator, and it's done an amazing job for me. I've been able to create some awesome images. But I did notice that when I tried to use longer focal length lenses, I couldn't track for quite as long as I was used to. Now I know the mechanics of this rotator are sound, so it must have been an issue with the way I was polar aligning. Up until now, I was using this laser, which you mount right to the side of the tracker, shoot this beam up, align it with Polaris, and you're good to go. And this is working perfectly for wide-angle lenses. But because the alignment with this laser isn't as precise as it could be, I'm not able to shoot for 2 or 3 minutes using long lenses. So I asked Move Shoot Move to actually send me this. It's a polar scope which mounts right onto the side of the rotator, just like the laser does, and you look through it and make sure that Polaris is in the perfect position. So tonight we're going to take this scope out, take a long lens out, and really put it to the test. Before we get out there, we're going to make sure that we know exactly how to use this polar scope, because there are a few steps that are different from just using the laser. Before we actually mount this to the tracker, we want to make sure we identify all the different parts of this scope. So it does come with this cable attached to a housing which holds a battery and a little button on it. This button actually activates and deactivates a tiny red light bulb inside the scope that is used for illuminating the scope when you're out there at night. On the other end is this end that you look through, and when you do, you can see several things inside the scope. The main one that we want to pay attention to in the northern hemisphere is this round little ring that looks something like a clock. It even has a 6, a 3, and a 9, and a 0 to indicate where that is. And this is important to find for when we are actually aligning with Polaris. It comes with the same sort of a bracket and plastic screws as the mount for the laser does, and it installs exactly the same. Again, you want the end with the light bulb pointed towards Polaris, which will be the same direction as this raised edge of the rotator. So you install it in just the same way and tighten the screw as you would for the laser. And it really is as simple as that. Now when you're out there in the field, you can turn on your polar illuminator light, and then you'll be able to see exactly what you're looking at and put Polaris on the right part of that circle. Now when you are out there, it can be really challenging to find Polaris just looking through the scope. So I always like to bring the laser with me. You can actually turn the laser on and send it through the scope in a line similar to how you would if you didn't even have the scope on. And this will at least get you really close to proper alignment. Then, turning this off, you can put your eye up to the scope and make sure you find Polaris and put it exactly where it needs to be on that circle. Because Polaris isn't a pinpoint due perfectly north, it actually is slightly off, so it moves throughout the night on this tiny little circle which is represented inside this scope. So depending on what time it is, you need to put Polaris on a different part of that scope. To find out exactly where it needs to be, you can download an app on your phone called Polar Finder. This app uses your phone's clock and GPS to calculate exactly where Polaris needs to be, and it maps it out on this circle for you. Then you just mimic what you see in your phone and align it the same way through your polar scope, and that way you know you are perfectly aligned. Now that you're aligned, you can attach your ball head and your camera, take your test images, and see if you need to make any adjustments, but using this scope, you should be very, very close to perfectly aligned on the first try. It is a great little tool. Tonight we're going to head out to Loveland Pass, use our 200mm lens, and take some pictures of the Rho Ophiuchi cloud complex and the Antares star. So I'm really excited to see what we can get with this little tracker. Okay, I've got myself a nice flat spot to set up the rotator. I have my polar scope on, now I just need to polar align it. Okay, that rough alignment is done. Now I need to look at that app on my phone to see exactly where to put Polaris in the reticle. seems like we're lined up really well. Now I can attach my camera and see what kind of exposure we can get. Going into dark mode now. Alright, so I'm getting really sharp stars at 200 millimeters at 20 seconds. So I'm gonna push this thing a little bit and see just how long of an exposure we can get. I'm gonna try for 1 minute now. It's a little bit cold out there. So I was able to get my rotator aligned well enough to shoot 1 minute subs at 200 millimeters. 1 minute is definitely a really nice exposure time for that focal length. So I'm letting my camera run for probably about a half an hour, and that way I'll get a lot of images that'll be able to stack and bring out as much detail as possible. So this is really a fun test to see what this little tracker can do. Okay, it's good to be back inside where it's warm. If you have enjoyed this video so far, please take the time to give me that thumbs up. It really helps my channel out. We're going to jump into Lightroom and take a look at these shots that we got. I was able to capture 31 total images to stack, and I chose the best 20 out of those because there were a few where the wind blew and there's a little bit of trailing. If we zoom into 100% on one of these good ones, this is the bright star Antares and a star cluster, and you can see that it did a perfect job. All of these smaller stars are super small, and we got a really nice diffraction spikes off of Antares. So the tracker did an awesome job at 200 millimeters. If you want to see how I stack these and edit them to bring out the detail, you can click on this video right here. But for now, I'll just show you the final result I was able to get is this. Very high detailed, very dynamic, very contrasty, awesome image of this area of the night sky. So I'm very happy with the results from this little tracker, and having this polar scope was crucial to get a result this nice. Now, if you are interested in doing a lot of deep space, I would recommend investing in a larger, slightly more expensive, bulkier tracker like the Skywatcher Star Adventurer. But if you're just going to do a little bit of deep space and you'd be happy with the results like this, I still got to go with the Move Shoot Move. Just to show exactly how portable it is, this is the little bag I'm using, and inside I hold the rotator, the scope, the laser pointer, the cable, the battery charger, the bubble level, all the little stuff that I need to track fits right in this bag. And if you compare it with just the tracker here, I mean, the size and weight difference is amazing. So yeah, I still gotta say, this little tracker is winning over the Star Adventurer for almost everything so far. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope I've helped you understand a little bit more about this scope and maybe helped you to make a decision on what to get for tracking the stars. Please do give me that thumbs up for the algorithm. Comment your thoughts or any questions you might have. Subscribe for more videos and hit that bell notification, like I just hit my poor tracker. That's all for today, and when the stars are out, I'll see you there.